Welcome to The Decision Makers. I'm your host, Kimon Kotos, and this program is about elected officials and those who are making decisions for us, represent us here in Michigan, in Washington, and here at the local level. I'm here today with State Senator Gerald VanWorkom. And Gerald, nice to meet you. Again,
good to be here.
Again, we meet. But I'm pleased to have you on the show. And, Senator VanWorkom represents 4 counties here in western Michigan: Muskegon, Oceana, Newaygo, and Mason County, and has for the last 7-8 years now, right?
It's been, it would be 7 years, because next year is my last year, 2 4-year terms, so 7 years so far.
And prior to that, you are a representative for the 91st District for 2 terms?
That's right, 2 terms, 4 years, yeah.
Well, tell us, Senator VanWorkom, what your background is here in Muskegon and your role in the Senate.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised here in Muskegon, down on the end of Getty Street. My uncles owned the celery farm that was behind there, which is now underwater, but worked for a lot of years for my uncles in that celery farm. And then I taught school for a number of years in the Grand Rapids and Hudsonville area, and then came back home again and became principal at Muskegon Christian School. And later on, we merged with Western Michigan Christian High School and became principal, actually, of my former high school, and had the opportunity to supervise some of my former teachers. And that was a unique experience in itself. But then when I turned age 50, I had always had it in my mind that I would like to serve in the government. And boy, when you're caught up in the school, there's really no time to get involved in other kinds of things. So I stepped away from Christian education and made a run at the House of Representatives and was successful. And then served 2 terms in the House and then moved on to the Senate. And I'm currently in my last term. I'm term limited after next year. And hopefully I'll be able to slow down a bit after that and stay a little closer to home and probably look for something to do here in the Muskegon area for a couple of years before retirement. I'm not ready to retire yet, but I am ready to stay a little closer to home.
I appreciate that. Well, one of your responsibilities, and I think an important position, is that you're the head of the Senate Agriculture Committee here for the state of Michigan, and that's really vital to this district here in the 34th District. And can you tell us a little bit about some of the accomplishments and the things that you've learned as a representative regarding agriculture here in Michigan?
Well, I'm very pleased with what we've been able to accomplish in agriculture in the state of Michigan. As a matter of fact, everybody knows these have been difficult economic times for the state of Michigan. And we've seen the demise of certain industries in our state. But agriculture has actually grown in the last 10 years in the state of Michigan. It was the number 2 industry before, and it remains the number 2 industry. And it would be scary if it became number 1. And that's not my goal in agriculture, because that means that the manufacturing industry has taken a tremendous dive if we pass it. But I am very proud of what we've been able to accomplish in agriculture in our state. Much of it has to do with the increase in number of agricultural processing plants which have come here. And Michigan is a natural for that. We've got so much water here in the state of Michigan. Water is very important to the processing of fruits and vegetables. So egg processing has grown, as well as ethanol and biodiesel, which have been a big boon for agriculture in our state. I had a bill a number of years ago to create agricultural renaissance zones, and that has opened the door for a number of the processing and ethanol plants here. So the corn industry, the soybeans are all doing well because of alternative fuels. Plus we have other fruits and vegetables. Michigan is number 2 in the country in the production of fruits and vegetables, next to California, and we're number 1 in many of those commodities that are there. And now we're working hard at exporting our products to other countries. The world population continues to grow, and I think the future is bright for agriculture. And Michigan is in a unique position with our soils and with our climate to raise many of these, I don't want to say niche products, but many of our fruits and vegetables are just in the right place here in what I think of blueberries in western Michigan. It's the right place to grow it. Now we've got a bill, it's a wetlands bill that just passed yesterday out of the Senate that's going to open up the cranberry industry in the state of Michigan. Right now we have only 250 acres in cranberries in our state. And we are a perfect state for cranberries. Wisconsin, a similar state to Michigan, lots of water in Wisconsin. They are the number one state in growing cranberries. Maine is the number 2 state. We could equal their production here in Michigan because of our climate, because of the water that is here. And cranberries is a booming industry right now with the antioxidants. It's getting into this eating nutritious thing that's going on through our country. We could see agriculture grow big time from where we are right now.
I know education is important to you, and there have been some really crucial decisions that have been coming down regarding support for education. So if we can touch a little bit on some of the challenges with the budget with education. I know this is a very touchy subject, but it's vital to many people.
Sure.
We've had a lot of support for Promise scholarships, and in terms of relationship with not only No Child Left Behind, but tell us a little about not only with education but also with medical care and health care, how challenging it is for the state in terms of its share that it has to put up in terms of matching the federal sources of money.
Yeah, well, this has been a real burden over the last few months, education as well as health care, because those budgets are just so huge. And, if you add $1 here or take $1 away there, the impact over the number of people who are served is just huge. And so we talk about foundation grant with the schools, and it's quite contentious right now. As a matter of fact, it was the only budget that we were not able to pay to pass through this past week. And much of it has to do with the size of the cut of the foundation grant. Another portion of that is that it took away the Promise scholarship from the kids, and that is another very contentious issue. And it really hurts me personally because I was a part of putting that scholarship together way back during the Engler administration. And so we created this incentive for kids to do their very best on that test, and they could potentially get rewarded. And we set the bar. I mean, we didn't say you have to score 100% or even that. We set the bar fairly low just to encourage all kids to do their best, whether they're A students or whether they're C students or D students. Let's see how good you are. We're looking everywhere for money to be saved. Programs are going down, and this is one of the programs that I don't believe is going to make it. There's talk of restoring some of it, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do that. One of the problems here, and I actually have been trying to explain this to some. I've gotten lots of calls from students, and legitimately so. They were counting on that money, and had a visit from some of the kids from Oak Ridge School in Lansing this past week. But there are a couple of issues tied in here. One, there are other things that are getting cut, big cuts, like Medicaid, where people have no other place to go. I mean, people who are on Medicaid don't have any health insurance. They don't have a way to pay the hospital if they have something seriously wrong. And yet we have to cut that program because, again, it's so huge. You don't have anywhere else to go in the budget to make the significant cuts, and so you have to take a look at these portions that are so big. So Medicaid has been kind of rising above the promised scholarships as something that, boy, you can't take as big a cut as what you thought you could take in Medicaid, because more and more people are losing their insurance. And there are other programs that, we've wrestled with revenue sharing, another huge program, big dollars, but there you start to get into police and fire protection, and now communities can't offer as much police and fire protection, and we want people to feel safe. And then you get this isn't the only place where students can get scholarships. There are lots of scholarships available, so there are alternatives for kids. Now, for a lot of kids, they were counting on $4,000, but I would hope that they find other ways. I hope that this doesn't prevent a kid from going on to higher education, because there are ways of doing that. There are ways of getting through school, so it should not prevent them, and it's so important to get that college education. The numbers are amazing, how much more you can make with a college diploma than if you don't have a college diploma. So $4,000 hopefully will not hold anybody back from attaining their goal of getting a college education, but I will be surprised if we're able to save that program.